How do I stop arm bend in the snatches? On singles, I can manage to keep them straight, but on doubles, they get bent slightly.
So the only way to stop the arm bend is to stop doing it. So when you have issues in weightlifting technique, you go for a couple of different angles, a couple of different things that might be contributing to the technical problem. It might be mobility issues, it could be strength issues, it could be technique issues, it could be a combination of those three, it could be a psychological aspect. Sometimes you need to stop doing something, sometimes you need to start doing something. You need to make a direct or very diligent change in a motor pattern that you have. Unfortunately, the arm bend is one, or fortunately, depending on what way you look at it, is the one where it's not a mobility issue. It's almost certainly not a strength issue, and it's not, it's not. It's not a thing where you need variations. It's not a thing where you need other movements. It's literally something where you need to stop doing it. You just focus on doing the correct rep where your arms and are not bent. It's been a very long time of coaching and lifting, and to this day, it's still the only thing that I've seen that stops arm bend is by the lifter focusing on it. I'll be honest with you, just to be kind of brutally honest, it's not that hard to stop doing if you focus on it. I know a lot of times people say, like, oh, I can't stop doing it. But to be as upfront about it or straightforward, you just need to stop doing it, And you've seen us talk about technique and squats and a whole number of other things and how to fix different issues. So take it from us that if there was a nuanced way of doing this, then we'd definitely tell you the nuanced way. But the same thing I tell everyone is to stop bending your arms. You have to physically just stop doing it. You have to go, I'm not going to bend my arms. You focus on it until it's second nature in your lifting. And there's just no other way around it, unfortunately. And I wish there was some nuance because it seems to be very hard for people to stop doing. But unfortunately, there's just no nuance around it. There's literally no way around doing it where other than stop doing it and cueing the correct repetitions. There's just nothing to do but to stop doing it.
Yeah, I think, yeah. It sounds a bit blunt. People get kind of annoyed when there's not some like, oh, you do this drill and it makes everything better. But to be honest, you just have to stop doing it. It takes a bit of time. Why are your weightlifting programs only 4 days a week? Coming from someone who likes to train 5 days a week. So this is just a thing of myself and Owen have coached thousands of athletes over the last 10 to 12 years. And for the vast majority of those thousands of athletes, even the ones who like training every day, they were far better off training 4 times a week for weightlifting. So the option is there. If people want to do an extra session, they can do some light work, they can do some bodybuilding, they can do some work capacity. There's lots of stuff they can do, but it's just a lot better if you do 4 days a week of weightlifting. If you're in the case where you're kind of an elite lifter and you're looking to do 6 sessions a week or 7 sessions a week, then you need to go down a slightly more personalized route, maybe one-to-one coaching. But for pretty much everyone, and we have people on those programs, snatching and clean and jerking, very heavy weights, for almost everyone, 4 days a week of weightlifting with some supplemental work if you need it is the best thing to do.
Yeah, so like a lot of times I'll have people who train 5 days a week and they're snatching 160 or 140, and they graduated to the 5 days a week after a long time of doing 4 days a week, A lot of times weightlifters want to train more often, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like in other sports or other hobbies per se, to use a looser term, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do your hobby more often. Like people want to train more because they like it, but unfortunately, weightlifting can be so unforgiving. It's not necessarily the best idea in most scenarios, and sometimes we could train an extra day, but like Dara said, it's kind of a kiss me ass day or a fairly meaningless day. But just people want to train that extra, it's fine, but you need to have quality sessions over quantity, and you want to do the least amount of training per unit of given progress that you necessarily can do. Because if you do a lot of training and you're snatching 80 kilos and you're training 6 days a week, what are you going to do when you're trying to snatch 120 kilos? You're going to have to keep training as hard as possible. But if you can get to that 115 or 120 on 4 days a week, and then you can kind of look at maybe I can move to five, maybe a little bit more before that. But you want to do the least amount of training that still allows progress. and then only incrementally increase the amount of training after that.